I've got nothing. I've got nothing.
You got nothing?
I've got nothing. I have nothing. What in the hell? I need a second. Welcome in to the PHNX Diamondback Show right here on PHNX. Of course, welcome in to Flavoring Fridays presented by our friends at OG's. And I need the biggest bag of OGs that this company has to offer after tonight's loss. Of course, head on over to ogsbrands.com to see their full lineup, including their two newest gummies, the OG's Naturals and the Big OGs, and find out where you can purchase them. Whoa, that was a tough loss. Arizona Diamondbacks lose tonight in New York to the Mets by a score of 10-9. That score may fool you into thinking this game was much closer than it was, and maybe it could have been had things not gone the way that they went tonight for the Diamondbacks pitching. Of course, my name is Derek Montilla here in the Circle K studio, occasionally known as your mayor of Circle K. This man next to me is your vice mayor of Circle K, occasionally known as your Thunderstick, Jesse Friedman. Jesse, this one hurts. This one hurts because this one felt like it was over. It felt like the Diamondbacks were finally going to have a lead and maybe get an early start, get their offense going. It did get going, but unfortunately, Jordan Montgomery was very, very bad today against the Mets.
Yeah, this one, it felt like kind of a tease. There's some people in the chat calling it a sort of a troll job by the Diamondbacks.
It absolutely was. I felt like when they were high-fiving in the dugout in the ninth inning, I was like, I get it, you high-five after a home run, but I really feel like you're just in my facing this to me. Like, oh my God, I knew they were going to get close. They did get close, but not close enough.
They come out, they score 3 runs in the top of the first, which is, that was big, right? Diamondbacks have obviously struggled mightily over the last few days offensively. I think they've only scored 3 runs in a game once over the past week, and they came out, they scored 3 runs in the top of the first inning. You're feeling pretty good. And then Jordan Montgomery comes out and gives it all back and then some. The Mets score 4 runs in the bottom half of the first inning. The Diamondbacks never led the rest of the way. However, they were down 10-5 going into the 9th inning, and they inexplicably hit 2 home runs. One of them a 3-run shot by Jock Peterson, a solo shot by Christian Walker. Those came on back-to-back pitches, and a 10-5 deficit turned into a 10-9 deficit. The Diamondbacks, Derek, scored as many runs today as they had scored in their previous 6 games, and they still lost this baseball game. That is life as an Arizona Diamondbacks fan right now.
I don't even know what to say about that. Thunderbolt 47, who literally only shows up when they lose to scream and curse, says, I say that every loss. I do not say this every loss. This fucking loss was ridiculous just because of the fact that this one, they felt like they were in, that it felt like they were completely out of, and then to have this happen here at the end after they were down by such a significant amount. This team still has only won 1 game this season when they have been down by 2 runs or more.
Right.
And they're going to flirt with a comeback like this here at the end. I mean, there are some positives to take away, I guess, that the offense finally got going in this one. If the pitching would have been competent at all and held the lead, held any kind of lead, even if the bullpen would have been able to hold Jordan Montgomery's terrible night, the Diamondbacks might have still won this one 9-8. But we know that that's not how this would have played out. There's no way they would have hit those home runs to go up late. It had to be like this. This is how it had to happen with the way this team has been playing baseball this year.
Yeah. Jordan Montgomery was not good in this game, Derek. He was not good in this game. He gave up 8 runs on 9 hits. This is the first time, this honestly kind of shocked me. This is the first time in Jordan Montgomery's career where he has been charged with 8 runs. Granted, not all 8 were earned. He gave up 6 earned. He has given up 7 earned in the past, but he had never given up 8 total runs in a start prior to tonight. He did not have it, Derek. And the Diamondbacks have actually fared pretty well in his starts. I think after today, they're still 5-3 in games started by Jordan Montgomery. He's gotten quite a bit more run support than a lot of other starters in this rotation. But it hasn't been great, Derek. Montgomery after tonight has a 5.48 ERA. And he is sort of the last man standing, it feels like, in the Diamondbacks rotation at this point. I know Brandon Pfaadt is technically in there too, but you felt like you had this big 4 of sorts with Gallen and Merrill Kelly and Montgomery and Erod coming into the season. And Montgomery is the only of those 4 who is still healthy and pitching, and he has been, frankly, a shell of himself so far this season. As Derek is now, what is happening over here? What are we doing?
Look, we grew these mustaches out of solidarity for the playoffs.
Oh, this is the playoff stash.
This is absolutely the playoff stash. And I think that it's been the most, forget the mistakes made tonight. Forget how bad Jordan Montgomery has been tonight. The real mistake has been the fact that I haven't shaved this off before now. So just out of frustration, this is what's happening now. This is the mustache going away live on the show. Wait, I need it to be shorter because it's got to just completely go away. It's gone now, Jesse. No more mustache. You guys did this to me. The Arizona Diamondbacks did this to me. You think I want to have a mustache? I like to have a mustache. My wife liked it.
Does this mean, Damon, are you losing your playoff stash too?
I told Derek so help him God if he approaches me with that thing.
Okay. All right.
My mustache is holding on tight back here, Jesse.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I don't look good without a mustache. I'm gonna tell you guys that right now, but it doesn't matter because this is what has to happen. This is what has. This is what they pushed me to here.
As we discussed the other night, I apparently am not at all observant about your facial hair situation. But I am observant enough to say that it looks very different right now. As Derek tries to attack Damon and see if he can save his mustache as well. Yeah, basically assault is what's happening over here. Yeah, this was rough, Derek. It almost like, I'm curious for you. Would you rather the Diamondbacks have not hit 2 home runs late in this game and just lost 10-5 and made it a little more straightforward, maybe a little bit less heartbreaking? Or do you feel like those couple of bombs at the end, like maybe that's a sign of good things to come?
Oh man, I'm gonna say that.
Boy, you do look very different.
It's bad. Yeah, it's a bad look.
You look young, Derek.
I mean, I know that's why normally I don't do this.
What do you like, 32?
I guess. I mean, you're taking this in a good direction. I like this now. It's making me feel better. That's none of your business, Tim, by the way. That may or may not be my only shaver. I don't know. I'll leave that up to your imagination. I'll say at the very least, if you want to talk positives, it's encouraging to see them not only finally break out of their home run slump, which it had been 6 games without a home run.
They had not homered in a week, and then they homered 3 times in one game and twice in a matter of 2 pitches. Yeah.
That's a positive sign. We've talked about how when they do get on a roll, it doesn't carry over to the next game. So from that, I still want to see if this causes them to now kind of be out of, this slump that they're in collectively as a team. But I don't know. I guess it hurts a little bit more that they got this close, and then you watch Lourdes Gurriel have that absolutely terrible at bat, and it once again reminds you of how this team has looked at the plate at times. That was one of the worst at bats I had ever seen someone in a big situation take. I swear to God.
I mean, it was 5 pitches, none of which were even really close to the strike zone, and He swung there. I guess there was one that was way far outside that Lourdes did lay off. And then there was another one that he laid off, but it was a check swing and it was very, very close. The other 3 pitches that were out of the zone, he swung and missed at. So yeah, not exactly an ideal at bat by Lourdes to finish this one off.
I think overall you have to start questioning about Jordan Montgomery. I know he's had the off season he had. I know there's a lot of stuff personally going on with him. Parting ways, with his agent, hiring a new agent, probably feeling the pressure, once again, it almost is like his particular situation is indicative of the whole team, where the worse you start doing, or some of the bad outings you start having, it gets compounded by the fact that you're starting to feel the pressure and putting the pressure on yourself about getting things right. With Montgomery, I can understand, with this being such a big year for his career, that, you start pressing a little bit. Tonight was just bad, though. Tonight was the worst start of the season for Monty. I mean, that
Dodgers game was pretty rough too. But
tonight he could not hit the strike zone tonight. It was more about the fact that you really saw him struggle with both command and control at times. And again, for what he was supposed to be, what he was coming in here from the offseason as being one of the most valuable free agents of the offseason, he really hasn't lived up to that.
He really hasn't. I mean, for all of the excitement surrounding the Diamondbacks acquisition of Jordan Montgomery entering the season, I mean, this what really looked like a behemoth of a starting rotation coming into the year, between injuries and the fact that Montgomery has been not nearly the pitcher that he was last year, at least not to this point. I mean, that's a big reason why the Diamondbacks are in this position, right? Merrill Kelly's made 4 starts. Erod has yet to throw a pitch. Zac Gallen, as you mentioned earlier, is now on the IL. We'll talk more about that later. It's a really tough spot for them to be in. And Montgomery, what's interesting to me is Montgomery, after his last start against the Marlins, that's a game the Diamondbacks won. He didn't pitch extraordinarily well in that game, but he didn't pitch terribly either. And after the game, he seemed very relieved. He seemed to finally be feeling like himself after what he described as sort of feeling like his pitches weren't moving the right way up to that point in the season. And for so quickly after that, in his very next start, for it to kind of revert to, as you said, maybe his worst start of the season, it's not exactly what you were looking for today.
Jordan Montgomery's season so far: 44 1/3 innings pitched in 8 starts, a 5.48 ERA, a 1.56 WHIP, a 14.4% strikeout rate, and a 7.7% walk rate.
14.4 is extremely low. There's not very many starting pitchers with a strikeout rate that low, and he's never been like a huge strikeout guy. I can pull up what it was last year. Is probably somewhere in the low 20s. But you need to strike out more guys than that to be successful at this level. It just isn't. It's just not possible to get by on, soft contact with striking out 1 out of every 6 or 7 hitters, which is basically what he's done up to this point in the season. So, yeah, I mean, his fastball continues to be down velocity wise. We saw, I think it was 91.6. Something around there on average in today's game. Last year, it was a career high at 93.3. It ticked up to 92.3 in his last outing. Maybe that's part of why he was excited after his last outing. Part of it being that the fastball velo had kind of ticked up there. But today it was basically back down to where we'd seen it before. And I don't think fastball velo is like the most important thing for a guy like Jordan Montgomery, but it is at least a factor. And his sinker, as we'll get into a little bit more later, has not been nearly as effective this season as it was last year.
Kellen in the comments says it's just a game, but goddamn, I want to be proud of my boys, not dwelling on how they could succeed. And yeah, you're right. I mean, that's really how it feels. I think that feeling right there that you described was something that we got a chance to feel in the first inning. And then you started maybe wondering if we were getting that feeling again there in the 9th inning, right? I think that, there isn't. This is just frustrating because this team has had so many close games where they did hold the opposition, to 5 runs or less. For their big, kind of breakout game offensively that they've been looking for the past 10 days is here now in a game that they give up 10 runs is probably the most frustrating part about this. Their pitching hasn't been great, but it definitely hasn't been the biggest problem during this stretch. It was the offense. And the minute that the offense gets right, the pitching has one of the worst nights that they've had all season long. I mean, the Diamondbacks have not given up double-digit numbers often this season. I think this is the second game.
Yeah, something like that. I know it was the second time that the Mets have scored double-digit runs. That's the other side of this, is that the New York Mets, Derek, we're not playing great baseball coming into this series, right? We talked about how they had lost 8 out of 9 and 13 out of 16 and 15 out of 19 and that whole thing.
Are we the get right team, Jesse? Are we the get right team? You never think you're the get right. Are we the get right team, Damon? Oh my God.
We definitely are. We're fodder.
The Mets were sort of like, I don't want to say, I think laughing stock of baseball is going too far, but the situation with Jorge Lopez that happened the night before the Diamondbacks started this series with the Mets, it was a really tough moment for them. I mean, it was the 40-minute players only meeting after the game ended where they just felt like they had reached such a low that they needed to reset. And they have reset, it appears, and they reset against the Diamondbacks. Yep. And the Rangers weren't playing all that great coming into that 2-game series. They sweep the Diamondbacks. Go back to the Tigers series where the Tigers were not scoring runs at all going into that series. They came out and just obliterated Diamondbacks pitchers in that series. Javier Baez had what felt like more hits in that weekend than he'd had in the entire season prior. So yeah, I mean, get right team.
Lindor,
maybe that's a little hyperbolic.
Lindor's gotten out once, right? I mean, Lindor.
Like that,
he got thrown out trying to extend a single into a double, but my God, they can't keep that man off the base path.
Yeah, he's 6 for 8 in the series with a walk, and he entered the series with a sub 700 OPS, kind of similar to Corey Seager, where he had been heating up just as Lindor has, but Seager came into that series with a sub 800 OPS, and of course, really, really hurt the Diamondbacks in those 2 games in Texas. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe the get right team. Maybe that's a little over the top, but not by very much.
Gross. I hate that. Well, we have to give out a king snake to somebody, and as much as I want to give it out to nobody, we're going to give it to Gino for hitting home run number 250 in his career. Another fun side fact there from the broadcast was that Gino is the 250th MLB player to hit 250 career home runs.
That's honestly really cool.
And you can never take that away from him.
No, you can't.
Never.
You can't. I mean, that's like what are the odds of that happening?
Of landing on that?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we have some more things to be positive about, but more importantly, more than anything, hopefully me shaving off my mustache, which again should have been done a long time ago.
That's what this team needed, Derek.
Well, okay, let's think about this logically. Okay, the purple hair thing last year turned Lourdes into a superhero. Can we explain it? Can Jesse explain it? No, we can't. We can't. I can't explain it. Jesse tried to. It actually drove him crazy that it was actually happening while it was happening. I've had that mustache all season long, right? We tried to do it. We did it right before the season. We tried to bring the playoff vibes into the playoff season. Playoffs? We shouldn't even be talking playoffs right now. So the mustache had to go, and hopefully they'll turn things around. Also, I want to know, Piece of Yoshi just gave me a very important piece of information. Piece of Yoshi said, "Where's mine or Elizabeth's king snake for sitting through that game?"
Oh, because they were there in person.
What you are telling me is that Elizabeth
we're going down this road
Elizabeth was at that game. We know what
color me surprised.
Right? Wasn't she at all 3 games in New York last year when they got swept by the Mets? I believe she was. Wasn't she at game 1 as well as today? I think we found her. You wanted to blame it on Bert? You guys want to blame it on Bert? Elizabeth is sitting right there. She's sitting right there. We're gonna have a talk about this.
Piece of Yoshi just gets off free.
Yeah, I mean, he attends wins. Sometimes Piece of Yoshi attends wins. Elizabeth, known cursed baseball fan. I don't know how to put it any other way, but we'll have to figure it out. See, Elise says the curse continues. She knows where I'm going with this. We figured it out. I'm going to contact security at the Citi Field tomorrow. I'm sure they'll probably hang up the phone on me again like they did last time, but we'll see if we can get her banned from the ballpark. Of course, we thank you guys for being here. None of you are banned, except maybe Thunderbolt. We'll see. We're going to talk about this. But thank you guys for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever our wonderful shows go live. Of course, we always appreciate it when you drop us a like. I don't think anybody should stop by to drop us a like tonight. I don't think any of the, honestly, this isn't on the offense, right? Bless you. Corbin was 2 for 4, so let's get Corby out there.
There you go.
We always appreciate Corbin stopping by, and more importantly, we appreciate you guys stopping by. If you are listening on the audio podcasting side, make sure you subscribe on your favorite audio podcasting app. Please leave us a review. We always appreciate when you guys do that as well. Those 5-star reviews mean the world to us. And of course, we are here in the Circle K studio. We got the mayor picture behind me, which is going to be put up, in my understanding, at every Circle K in the Valley.
That's terrifying.
We're incorporating their decor into the studio, but they're incorporating our decor into every single Circle K around the Valley.
That's our decor. That's stupid whatever.
What are you talking about? That is an amazing portrait. Of course, make sure to stop by Circle K. If you're thirsty, not only can you stare at that bad boy, but you can also get yourself a 79-cent Polar Pop of any size. That's any size drink you want. Make sure to grab that. Also, if you haven't joined the Inner Circle program for free yet, do so now. Become part of our family. If you download the app, all you got to do, sign up there for free. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. But you'll instantly start saving. Not only will you start saving on wonderful drinks and items in the store, but you also save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. You will also save 3 cents off per gallon every day after that. So join the Inner Circle for free today over at the Circle K. Also, Shady Rays, been talking about them for a while. World-class product, amazing sunglasses, very clear optics, and also the very, very good lost and broken replacement plan. You might notice I don't have my Shady Rays right now to put on here to do this bit.
Did you lose them again?
That's because I may have lost them. I'm still checking my luggage before I make a call to Shady Rays, but I may have lost my favorite pair of sunglasses. But luckily for me and anybody else out there who shops with Shady Rays, their lost and broken replacement plan is crazy. I'm thinking maybe this time they might ask some questions, but I'm sure they won't, because they don't do that. They just send you out a brand new pair, no questions asked. So make sure to check out all of the wonderful sunglasses they have to offer. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out the best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Well, let's take a look at the count presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, because this one's a little less infuriating there when you take a look at the numbers. The Mets really did put it to the Diamondbacks tonight. Again, it's just amazing that tonight is the night of all nights that the Diamondbacks are able to put 9 runs up, but they lose 10-9. Mets out-hit the Diamondbacks 14-9. Runners in scoring position, Mets hit 429. They were 6 for 14. Diamondbacks, meanwhile, 250. They were 3 for 12. Mets had 7 extra base hits, while the Diamondbacks had 3 extra base hits. And then hard hit percentage, very, very close. Which is baseball's just crazy. 46.9% for the Mets, 46.4% for the D-backs.
Jordan Montgomery wasn't good in this game, and I don't necessarily want to make like a ton of excuses for what was obviously a pretty rough outing for him, but technically Kevin Newman made a fielding error in the 4th inning, a play that had he made it would have ended the frame, and the Mets went on and scored 2 more runs in that inning. There was an RBI single by Starling Marte, followed by another single by Mark Vientos. Theoretically, Derek, looking back on that, if Kevin Newman makes that play, the Mets wind up scoring 8 runs in this game instead of 10.
No, I told you can't do that. Because then they don't hit the home runs in the 9th inning. That's not how this works.
That's fair, because the 9th inning looks a little bit different, right? I think Carlos Mendoza probably plays that differently if it is an 8-5 game as opposed to a 10-5 game. So yeah, it's not as simple as like, oh, the Diamondbacks should have won. They would have won for sure if Kevin Newman hadn't done that. But I do think it's worth noting Newman has still been, by and large, a really solid stopgap for the Diamondbacks at shortstop. But Geraldo Perdomo, it does sound, is getting pretty close. I believe he was out at the complex today, getting into a game there. Would have been his first rehab game, I believe. And then he should get out on a rehab assignment early next week down to Reno.
He's going to DH. He DH today. He's going to play shortstop I think this weekend, and then be out to Reno by Tuesday next week. And so hopefully, like we said yesterday, we will see Perdomo back by next weekend. Now, we have also said this a few times, but the concerning part about this team right now isn't really that, the injuries. The concerning part is that the guys that are here aren't getting it done. Tonight is a night that you might at least should, as a fan, be a bit encouraged by. I mean, at least for the most part, the offense was able to put up 9 runs tonight. And yes, I don't want to get too excited based on who those runs were put up against there in the Mets bullpen. But still, sometimes it's not about that. Sometimes it's more about this team that has not looked good against any bullpen, against a lot of teams late in games. Like, this is the first time we've actually seen them mount any kind of comeback here late. We've talked about the numbers 1-28 now when they are down by 2 runs or more in this season. So this team just is not able to come back against teams. And at the very least, this should be encouraging.
Remember the answer backs?
No. What are you talking about?
Remember them?
No, we removed that shirt from our store. I think I burned the 2 that I own.
Remember how cool life used to be?
Yeah, well,
there's rainbows and unicorns
life
and butterflies.
Might be better when Perdomo comes back. Big Perdomo guy over there. Jerry P back next weekend. How do you feel about that?
This game broke me, but
you should see this man.
But
with half a mustache.
Jerry's like pretty much the only thing that makes me feel better about myself.
Yeah, I get it. Well, you put this together, you put the vibes back together, and maybe we get some better pitching performances out of some of these young guys. Like, the one thing that you could say is as bad as Ryan Nelson and Slade and some of the other guys have been, they have not actually been as bad as Jordan Montgomery has been. Like, Jordan Montgomery tonight was one of the worst outings from any starting pitcher on the Diamondbacks roster this season. And it just hurts that it is the guy that we thought was going to be such a big addition to this starting rotation. It hurts that it's a guy now with Zac Gallen's injury that we look to almost as the ace of this staff. The ace of the staff went out there one day after we lost Gallen, one day after the bullpen was able to hold the Mets for an entire game to just 3 runs, goes out there tonight and gives up 8 or 6 essentially earned runs and 2 more that are charged to the error. But still, 8 runs while he's out there, and you're not going to win baseball games like that. You can't, right? So this has been frustrating. Jordan Montgomery, I mean, the Diamondbacks, I'm sure with Zac Gallen's injury, probably don't feel buyer's remorse. They probably felt last night when they got the diagnosis of Zac Gallen and that they were going to have to place him on the injured list, that, like, I'm glad we have Jordan Montgomery. Then he goes out there today and gets shelled. Like, that's got to be a terrible feeling for Mike Hazen in the front office to have to witness that after, not only putting so much faith in him to bring him in here like they did right at the end of the offseason, but also like counting on him to be the guy now that they've lost both Merrill Kelly and Zac Gallen.
I'm just trying to get it through my head that if the Diamondbacks hadn't signed Jordan Montgomery, I mean, what would their rotation right now? Their rotation would be Brandon Pfaadt,
Yeah.
I mean, in whatever
Ryan
order.
Nelson, Tommy Henry.
Yep, Slade Ciccone.
Blake Walston.
Yeah, yep, that would be that would be the rotation if the Diamondbacks didn't sign the guy at the. I mean, technically wasn't made official until the day after the season began. Kind of surprised all of us. Yeah, I mean, it's just wild to think about. But again, Montgomery hasn't really been effective. So the ace of this pitching staff in its current state, Derek, is Brandon Pfaadt. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. Pfaadt is averaging more than 6 innings per start. He's been going deep in games all the way through the season. I know he wasn't great in his last outing. His ERA is a little bit over 4, but you look at some of the peripheral numbers. Pfaadt's expected ERA is below 3 right now, 2.88. His FIP, I think, is like 3.3. His xFIP, I think, is 3.65, something in that range. All the peripheral numbers suggest that Pfaadt has actually been pretty unlucky, or at least is sort of destined to maybe improve as the season goes along. So yeah, I mean, that's the state of the Diamondbacks pitching staff right now. It's pretty wild.
Maybe we would see Christian Mena, as who there says, with the way Mena's been pitching. But oh man, it's just things aren't good right now. Things are not good for this team. Things are not good for injuries. Nothing's really good right now for this team. And I'm not lying about that. But you know who also doesn't lie? The numbers. They don't lie. And you saw very much how much they didn't lie there. But Jesse, what do you got for the numbers don't lie tonight?
Yeah, going back to Montgomery here, today's number is 373. This is the opponent batting average on Jordan Montgomery's sinker, which last season was one of the better. I think it was near the top of the league in run value for all sinkers in baseball. It was one of the better primary pitch sinkers that you had in the entire league. And this season, Derek, opposing hitters have just absolutely destroyed it. I believe they were 3 for 5 against it in this game today. It is, I think part of it is a location issue for sure. We saw Montgomery make a lot of mistakes over the middle of the plate today, but I think part of it is also the velo that I mentioned, that we mentioned earlier, which is still around 2 miles an hour down from where it was last year. And I still feel like that's likely to tick up as he gets further into the season. And it's obviously been a really weird buildup for him, but I'm not sure you get back to 93 and a half at any point this year. And I think he could still be an effective pitcher without that, but have to believe that's playing a role here.
Now is not the time, Roger. I'm just telling you that right now. I'm not in the mood for your football slider tonight,
my numbers don't lie is 105.7, which is the average exit velocity given up by Logan Allen tonight.
Is that real? Is that really?
That's not real. That's not real.
Completely made up Damon numbers, but it
the
sure
real
felt
number
that way.
is the real number is 90.8. But yes, there was a fair amount of hard contact in this game against Logan Allen. But Allen gave up 2 runs in 4 innings.
Yes.
I mean, he was sort of.
I don't know how he did it, but he was much more effective than Jordan Montgomery.
He was sort of the least of their problems. One other point I want to make, Montgomery, has to do with his changeup. If we can pull up the little chart that we have of Montgomery's changeups in this game, he didn't throw all that many of them. It seems like he's sort of lost confidence in that pitch, and you can see why here. Like this is the location of Montgomery's changeups in this game. This is
Were they all balls?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
It looks like a couple of these would have been called strikes if they were taken. But yeah, you see a lot of arm side misses here. You see pitches at the top of the zone, which is never what he's going to be looking for with that changeup. It just feels like that pitch has been kind of a shell of what it was a year ago. And I think that's also a big part of why Montgomery has struggled this year. It's not just the sinker velo. It's not just at the curveball. We saw him struggle with his curveball command in this game as well. But the changeup has just been, it seems like he's sort of lost confidence in it at times, and he just doesn't go to it. And based on this chart, you can very much see why.
He's so all over the place in this chart that I thought that the diagram showing changeup in the top right was an actual pitch.
I thought it was one of them.
Like, I genuinely was like, "Ooh, he missed bad on that
He didn't
one."
miss by that much on any of these. But yeah, like, I mean, probably none of those. Maybe a couple of those were actually thrown where he wanted to throw them. And Montgomery's changeup, like when I was doing a deep dive on what made him effective last year with the Rangers, his changeup was a big reason why. It had one of the highest whiff rates of any changeup in baseball when it was in the zone. He didn't even have to throw out of the zone to get swing and miss. He got a ton of swing and miss on that pitch last year, throwing it in the strike zone. And as you saw there, he's struggling to get it in the zone. He's struggling to get it out of the zone in any kind of a productive location. It just hasn't been the same pitch this year.
It's frustrating to watch because he locks in at times, and you see him have some
glimpses.
See some glimpses of him looking really good. He had some whiffs tonight that looked really good, but it's just then immediately, I think we were watching immediately the next batter, you see him just immediately struggle again. Immediately struggle to find
just
the
throw
zone.
A sinker like right down the middle, or a curveball that just
mostly
hangs
it was
over
the
middle,
curveball on the outside that he couldn't seem to land in the corner.
Man, he tried. He tried to land like the first pitch curveball on the edge so many times. He just kept leaving it just a few inches arm side. So yeah, it's just it's not just the sinker velo. The secondary pitches are not looking the same that they did last year either. It's not just the stuff, it's also the command. It's a little bit of everything. Like Jordan Montgomery just has not been the guy that he was last year.
And like many of you, we were screaming for Torey Lovullo to pull Jordan Montgomery from this game much earlier than he did. But the realization was that this team just couldn't really have essentially 2 bullpen games back to back in a 4-game series on the road like this. They needed to do everything they could to let Jordan Montgomery go out there and eat up innings. And it wasn't the best decision. And obviously the outcome was less than ideal. It was dramatically worse than that. But I mean, you just don't have the manpower. And baseball is a game like that where you can't really go out there and spend your bullpen and then expect to have them in potentially, bigger games that are closer games that might just be tomorrow or the following day, right?
Yeah.
They really were in a terrible position. But again, it's just really the disappointment. I think with someone of Montgomery's caliber, Torey Lovullo probably expected him to get it back on track. We've seen this out of guys like Gallen and Merrill Kelly before, where they struggle kind of early on, but then they dial in, and the next thing you know, they give you 6 innings strong. They might have given up 3 or 4 runs, but still, they went out there and gave you that length. And after the damage was done, they were able to get it together. Right? We didn't see that out of Montgomery tonight.
Yeah, that's a good point. You have, and we've seen this with Fott a lot this year as well, where he gets banged up a little bit in the early innings, in the middle innings.
Nicked up.
Sure, nicked up.
You gotta say the right term, Torey terminology.
The Torey terminology.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll work on that. But yeah, and then Torey will just stick. Torey will just stick with Fott even after some of those struggles, because he expects him to dial it back in and be able to give you some productive innings.
Yeah.
Montgomery was just continuing to throw pitches right over the middle of the plate, and it just wasn't working.
Elise said it best. The Monty start after yesterday was pretty much the worst case scenario, and that's what we saw today. Yeah. I mean, Justin Martinez giving you 3 innings yesterday, I think proved pretty big here. Incredible.
Big moment for him with his family. His family was in the stands watching him for the first time. Yeah. I didn't really expect Justin Martinez to throw 3 innings ever, frankly. Like, I would not have been surprised if Justin Martinez had gone his entire remainder of his major league career without throwing 3 innings in a game.
So good.
You don't see guys who throw 102 miles an hour go out there and give you that kind of length, but I guess he'd been down for a while.
My exact reply to Jesse yesterday was, he can't keep going to J-Mart, can he? Like, he was just like, he can't keep having him do. It's the ups and downs, right? It's the up and downs, right? It's the fact of, like, a lot of these relievers, especially someone like Martinez, hasn't really had the opportunity to go out there and pitch. It's not the amount of pitches he throws; it's the going back to the bullpen or going back to the dugout,
the up downs,
And so I was surprised by that, but it proved to be big. Obviously, what's not so big is losing both of these games and now being down in this series 0-2. Hopefully, they can turn things around this weekend.
Can I just ask Jesse real quick? What was J Mart's like fastball velocity sitting at the end of that appearance there, like in that 3rd inning? Was he still pumping triple digits?
I think he was. I don't think it dropped off significantly. I'll see if I can find it a little later in the show.
He'll look for that, but I'll tell you guys that you could go ahead and get yourself a diehard membership right now while Jesse's researching that. If you haven't checked it out,
I have too many tabs open, so it's gonna take a solid 10, 15 minutes.
Slow down. It's fine though, because I'll tell you about all the wonderful benefits for the diehard membership. Not only do you get Jesse's wonderful research like this, which he does specifically just for diehard articles that he does for our website, you get all of our content, including access to our Discord lounge, which is the best place to be an Arizona sports fan. Not only do you get wonderful content there, you get exclusive episodes of this show just for you diehards over at the Discord lounge. Of course, you also get access. You get discounts with our partners. You get discounts on our events. You get a free t-shirt from the PHNXlocker.com and our little membership card. So much more. So make sure to sign up today over at gophnx.com. Become part of our family. Of course, another great place for you to go save some money at, because that membership pays for itself. But once you do, you could save your money over at Desert Financial Credit Union. Shout out to them for sponsoring the count. And also shout out to them for being Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union for more than 84 years here in the Valley. They have been dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions for their members. I am a member of Desert Financial, and they got me started on my home ownership journey. They can get you started, hopefully, as well. You can look to Desert Financial for checking and savings accounts, investment options, loans, credit cards, and so much more, including mortgages. So join a credit union that's committed to giving back to the community and sharing success with their members. When you open a free checking account online, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. Well, not only are the Diamondbacks now making me get rid of my facial hair, but they are also keeping me from drinking my delicious celebratory Four Peaks beer after the game. So I hope they're happy with themselves, because I am not. But you can make sure to drink a Four Peaks, whether it's a win or a loss. You can get it all over the Valley, including your favorite grocery stores. Also check out the Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale. It has quickly become a favorite of everybody around here. Everybody loves the Bad Birdie. And of course, you can get it on taps around the valley as well as in stores. It's a collab between Four Peaks and Bad Birdie, super drinkable and the perfect companion at the tee box or in your fridge. Visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. Check out at Four Peaks Brew or Four Peaks Pub on social to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly.
J Mart's last sinker was 99 miles an hour, Damon.
There you go.
So there you go.
I just I haven't felt this way when he was walking off of the mound yesterday. I haven't felt this way about the aura of a player since Ketel. And I remember when Ketel first came up, and he wasn't even that great. He wasn't necessarily considered to be a future star. But I just remember watching him play, watching him hit, and I was like, this guy has it. Justin Martinez walking off the mound with his frosted tips and his chains, and he's just his flat brim hat. That's a reliever.
The swag,
and that guy is on my team.
Well,
and
it's funny you say that, right? Because a lot of that sounds like a joke, but there is something to having a reliever be intimidating, especially after you've been facing, a starting pitcher all day that's been pretty good, and you're hoping to crack into the bullpen and have someone come out, have some chump walk out, and that dude walks out. That guy with his frosted tips, and
reliever aura is absolutely a thing. If you're a hitter, and this is never going to show up on the analytical side of things, but if you're a hitter in the box and Mariano Rivera is going up against you, you're going to feel much worse about that than some random reliever. The names hold weight, and Justin Martinez looks like he could be a incredibly upper echelon relief pitcher. I mean, I'm head over heels for this guy. I love him.
He's great.
And he has a 0.48 ERA. So it's an easy guy to love.
It's easy guy to love, right? Well, when he came out yesterday, I found myself saying all right, they've discussed a lot on the broadcast about how his parents are here watching him pitch for the first time. I know he's going to be excited. I just hope he doesn't go out there and just try to do too much, because he's been so good lately. And that's exactly what he did. Out of the first 5-6 pitches were him just doing way too much, not hitting the strike zone. I think he gave up a hit. And then I think the thing I was most impressed by was his ability in the middle of a game where obviously his emotions were high, excitement levels were high. He's out there, wanting to impress his family, his parents, getting him to watch them pitch in the first time in the majors and in person.
Yeah.
And it was a great performance. It was an amazing ability to not only settle himself down and get back to what he's done so well this season. It was also amazing that he was able to do it for the Diamondbacks, considering the situation, given that they lost Zac Gallen after just 6 pitches. And what a blow this is to a team that has already experienced so many difficult injuries that now we have to deal with Zac Gallen being placed on the 15-day IL.
Yeah.
And we don't know the severity of the injury yet because he was sent back to Phoenix for imaging today.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to miss at least 2 starts, right? I mean, being placed on the 15-day IL, you know that for sure. This is kind of a thought I had in the back of my head. Gallen, obviously, he was removed from that start against the Mariners back on April 26th. I believe it was the 6th inning. So he'd already pitched pretty deep into that game, but left early. Wound up being okay. The D-backs weren't planning to skip him, but then they did because of the B incident. So they had him skip 1 start. He got back in there. And then a couple of weeks later in his start against the Tigers, which was obviously eventful for its own reasons with the whole mound situation. That was fun watching that between him and Jack Flaherty kind of going back and forth. But he had mentioned, I mean, his explanation for why he wanted the umpires to rebuild the mound time and time again was that he had been feeling a little bit of tightness in his hamstring, and he wanted to make sure that he didn't overwork it or sort of alter his pitching motion in a negative way because of the mound not being just the way that he wanted it to be. And when he had said that, I mean, he kind of dismissed it after the game. He said it felt fine. But I did wonder, okay, this hamstring issue is still a thing, right? It was apparent it had not completely gone away at that point. So something I had in the back of my head that could maybe, come up again and be an issue again. And sure enough, that's what happened yesterday. This time he said that it was more, it was more significant than what he had felt against the Mariners. which doesn't tell you a whole lot because that wasn't very significant. He didn't wind up at least needing to miss time at that point in time. So, hope for the best here, but it's going to be at least 2 starts, and figure it might be a little bit longer than that.
What the hell do we do?
Well, you got Slade Ciccone, who apparently is now starting tomorrow's game. Torey Lovello said that after this one was over. It is no longer Blake Walston going in the Saturday game. It is now Slade Ciccone starting against Sean Manaea, and then we have Brandon Pfaadt against Jose Quintana in the finale on Sunday. So Slade was gone, and now he's back.
Now he is back. Well, I mean, it is. There is some things here that the Diamondbacks, like a silver lining to this situation, right? These are young guys that the Diamondbacks are sincerely hoping to be the future of this team. So all things considered, this is trial by fire for these guys. I mean, they understand that with the opportunities and the way this season has gone, that their ability to stay in the majors is going to be based on how they perform. But I mean, for the time being, they might need these guys for the foreseeable future, which it just is an indication of how bad things have gone for this team injury-wise. Like, this is just a terrible situation for a team that tried their best to go all in one season after making a fantastic run in the postseason last year. And, it's funny because there were elements to last season that are similar to this year, including, like we were asked yesterday about, like, is this worse than July of last year? And while I will say it does feel like that, at the very least, what happened in July of last year did feel like the Diamondbacks had taken a wonderful season and they had completely thrown it away over the course of 1 month. This feels more like this season they've never been on solid ground this year. Opening day was such a wonderful moment, and it's felt like pretty mediocre to bad ever since then, right? So as much as, you want to say that this season might have taken a downward turn, it's kind of felt like this entire season has been like this. Some ups, but more downs than ups for sure.
Yeah, that's fair. July it felt different because the D-backs weren't just like utterly decimated by injuries. It was more just that they were just suddenly bad. Right. Yeah, and they eventually kind of found their way toward the end of the year.
But people are starting to talk about that because people are realizing that especially the offensive woes aren't going to be cured by 2 guys with a sub 700 OPS. Right? Like, it's not like Geraldo Perdomo and Alec Thomas. Once again, as we've said before, it's not like that's Jock Peterson coming back or Christian Walker or Corbin Carroll or Ketel Marte. It's no disrespect to those guys because what they bring to this team is in abundance. They bring a lot more than just what they do at the plate. However, it isn't like they are going to be the instant answer to the offense. The answer to the offense was what we saw this team do tonight. Just do it on a night where the pitching cannot be so god awful, right? Like this. Yeah. I at one point started screaming about the offense, and the Diamondbacks here find a way to put up 9 runs tonight. A lot of times you want to put it on the offense. You want to suggest that the offense, does more. But I mean, again, I don't know if the 9th inning would have happened if the Diamondbacks weren't already down by a significant margin. It feels like the pressure was off. They weren't going to win, so they could just kind of go out there and swing the bat. And then this is the results. That's what's so frustrating about it, though. This team has so much potential to be a team that can score 9 runs regularly. And it just feels like every single player on the team is so tight at the plate. They're so nervous. They're so worried about, or so frustrated, I could say. We saw Gino tonight after an inning where the Diamondbacks put up 3 runs in the first. Gino slammed down his helmet in frustration in a way that we haven't seen him be frustrated all season long, simply because he was the final out in an inning that felt like it could have turned into a massive inning for the Diamondbacks. 3 runs was great, but it did feel like for a moment we might see a 5 or 6 run inning, or maybe even more, right? Yeah. Gino was frustrated even when things were going well for this team early on, which just is an example of how much, how much tension there is for these guys that are slumping right now at the plate.
I'm looking at Slade Ciccone's numbers from Reno. He only made 1 start. It hadn't been that long since we've seen Slade Ciccone pitch in the majors, but that 1 start he made in Reno was very, very good. 7 innings, 7 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. It's hard to do a whole lot better than that in your 1 start back in AAA. And looking at some of the other numbers, his fastball velo ticked up a little bit. Looks like maybe there was a little bit less variance as far as that's concerned than we saw at times in the majors. He had 16 whiffs altogether, 7 of which came on his curveball, which is interesting to me. We don't usually see him get quite that much swing and miss on that particular pitch. He was in the zone quite a bit. So yeah, this is another big test for Ciccone. And I mean, at times the Ciccone that we saw with the Diamondbacks was a very effective pitcher. And there were times where he was able to complete it, like that start against the Seattle Mariners, where he went into Seattle and had, I want to say, 8 strikeouts over 6 innings, gave up 1 run, something like that. We've seen that from him at times. He's shown in flashes the kind of impact he can have on the mound. Be interesting to see what the D-backs do tomorrow. Is Walston pitching on back of Ciccone? I don't know how much leash they're going to have with him, but it'll be interesting to see what he looks like after a really, really nice outing down in Reno.
Thunderbolt 47, who rages against the machine, says this slump started in the World Series.
Yeah, well, the D-backs also scored 16 runs on opening day, so I don't know about that.
and just think about what you said. The slump started when the Diamondbacks were in the World Series, so let's just remember that. I mean, again, it was going to be a tough road this season, and by no stretch of the imagination is the door closed on the Diamondbacks postseason. People constantly come on this show and want me to give them a time of death on the season, Jesse, when the Diamondbacks have basically their entire starting rotation out injured and several key members of the staff. So I'm not going to do that, but I am going to tell you guys one last thing. And I hope, even with how emotional I've been tonight, emotional enough to shave off my own facial hair live on this show, that you will be encouraged by this last bit. The Diamondbacks right now on May 31st sit at 25-32.
That's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad, Jesse. But last season, there was another team, a team we know fairly well, a team that is having a great amount of success this year, that was also 25-32, and that was the Philadelphia Phillies. On June 2nd, the Phillies sat at the same record the Diamondbacks have today, and they were able to eventually turn their season around and meet the Diamondbacks, as you may remember, in the NLCS. So if you want to take an encouragement away from some early season struggles, there's that. And you combine the fact that any team can turn things around, especially even if they're 7 games below 500, especially when they have key members of their starting rotation and their starting lineup returning hopefully soonish. Hopefully the Diamondbacks can emulate what the Phillies did and turn things around next year. But
so they're going to win. They're going to win 90 games then, right? That's what that means.
That's correct.
Phillies
and then
next are 90 and 72.
And then that means that next year the Diamondbacks will win 40 games before June 1st, like the Phillies did this year.
Yeah.
That's
So they're just 1 year behind the Phillies.
They went to the World Series the year before us, didn't they? As the 6th seed. So
yeah,
I mean, there is
there you go,
footsteps to follow.
There you go.
So anyway, hopefully we don't just get. I mean, I'd take an NLCS loss at this point with the way this season has gone. I'm not gonna lie.
So who's gonna have the Ranger Suarez breakout next year? Right, Brandon Pfaadt.
Yeah.
But I feel
is that a breakout?
It almost feels like that's happening this year.
Jordan Montgomery,
but yeah, I mean,
it'd have to be a player that has some years on him, right?
I was gonna say that Jordan Montgomery probably won't be a Diamondback next year, but I guess his struggles maybe make it
Are
a
you
little
sure
bit
about that?
make it a little bit
sure
more likely
that
right. Montgomery could stick around. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, those options are going to vest, let me tell you. And I'm telling you, that $25 million might look pretty sweet with the Diamondbacks after it all is said and done for Mr. Montgomery. But we thank you guys so much. We have no money to give out to any of you guys, but we do have our love and adulation. We thank you for being here on a Friday night. And of course, we will see you guys back here on Monday with another Mailbag Monday episode. You can follow us on Twitter. I am at @cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, the people's producer, Damon, he is at Damon Dog. That is DAWG. We are Damon's Dogs. Bark, bark. Our show is at PHNX_DBacks. But of course, all roads do lead to @PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Well, we thank you guys so much for your time. We appreciate you stopping by. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. We hope the Diamondbacks can turn things around in this 4-game series. Until we meet again, we hope you guys enjoy baseball. Try to enjoy baseball. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you don't try to grow a playoff stash during the regular season.
We all silly like the mayor.